Hello, welcome to the Peter Repeater, episode 24. In this episode, I don't know what I'm going to talk about for the minute, but I'll just check that it's working and we'll get underway. So, the Peter Repeater is live, and I'll just click on it, turn down the volume, and share it to Twitter. Might be a little bit of a pointless exercise. Not many people ever notice it, but I try my best. So yeah, so I've got Twitter at the Pete Repeater, and I've just tweeted the podcast, and I'm live. Brilliant. Everything's sorted, more or less. And now onto the podcast. So let's just figure out what I've been doing since my last podcast. Since last evening, when I did my podcast, I watched some of The Fighter and the Kid. I watched the Brendan Schaub and Brian Callen. One's the fighter because he used to fight in the UFC, and then the other is a kid in comparison because he's smaller, but he's really an older adult. But The Fighter and the Kid is the podcast I like to listen to. They appear on Joe Rogan, so that's why I quite like them. And they're really funniest when it's just them two on their own. They're really quite good. I quite like them. So yeah, we have The Fighter and the Kid, listening to them. They had a guest on, so it wasn't quite as interesting. They're talking about different things. And yeah, this episode that I've been watching this morning, yeah, it was really funny. They're just talking about crazy stuff. One thing they're talking about how they love to annoy their kids and get them really annoyed, and they'll like do some sort of impression, and they'll just keep going with it until their kids just like, seriously, stop, seriously. They just keep going to it, and they make like silly jokes. This Brian Callen and about just crazy stuff. It's like they have no idea where it's going, but they just make it random stuff. So they're both two comedians, and I both like watching them. I have to admit, my life is getting, it's doable. I think I need to probably do a variety of things. And this podcast does lend itself towards me talking about a variety of topics. So we could potentially get a variety in my day just by talking about interesting things on this podcast, and we can get there quite nicely. So my life, am I pleased with it? It's that sense of, do you make the most out of life? And I think I have, in some ways. Things that are important to me, I've paid attention to, and that's really good. And have had friends, and they've been good, but then there have been a lot of times where I haven't had friends, so that's been a bit difficult. Like being at school and you're at lunchtime and you don't really know who to hang out with. That's really difficult. That's probably one of the toughest things I had to do in growing up. But the lessons were okay. You forget how good lessons are, just being able to let the lesson wash over you and listen to the teacher, and you don't always have to interact. I kind of miss school. Like at the time, you think school's like the worst thing ever, boring, and you just want the day to be over. But actually having something to do and being able to listen and do stuff in your day and talk to people, it's quite a nice sensation. So yeah, hopefully I can do more of that in my life, but probably not. I was probably once in a lifetime opportunity, the schooling situation. Yeah, so last time I said the happiest time was of my life. Happiest year of my life was year 7. So that was me being at school. But even then I look forward to the weekend and value different times of my free time, and I got along normally, but it's just a really good year. I just really liked it. I just remember it being amazing, but probably in actual fact it wasn't that amazing. But compared to other years of my life, like year 9 was a bit difficult. I had like low energy, and it was all a bit much. That was a bit difficult. Year 10 was also difficult. Year 11 was easier. I don't really know why, but yeah, year 11 was different. It was easier, not so difficult. Year 12, year 13, I quite like those years. Just being able to be an adult sort of at school and talk to the teachers and be on the same level as them, and I would make jokes with the teachers. That was quite nice. Like, so some of the jokes I made were really funny, and then I'd make jokes, and I wouldn't be able to stop myself laughing at my own joke. That's brilliant. When you make a joke and you just can't stop laughing. When it's somebody else's joke, it's healthy to laugh, but when it's your own joke, it's like, nope, don't want to laugh. Is not good for me, to laugh at my own joke. But when you see other people laughing like crazy, you're like, that was pretty funny. And I still look back on some of those jokes. I remember them. They were pretty funny. But it's a lot of jokes is like you have to be there sort of thing. Because like it's not many things translate to you telling it to someone else. They're like, oh right, that's pretty cool. That was a lot of what I did at school, talk about my day after school, and I'd mention, oh, this happened, and there's a whole different excitement. And I'll never do that again. I've grown up now. I'm older than the age for school, and that's life sorted, I've got everything. Everything's all been learned, I think, and I've been through school. I never thought it would end, but it did. How many years of school did I do? 15 years of school. It's a lot of years of school. I did 15. So yeah. And I'm only 22. A lot of your life is in school, and I've done work. I've had a year of work. I was different. Yeah, far worse. Yeah, just school, no pressure. Work, you have to be productive. It's a bit much sometimes, but it depends what you're doing. There's so many songs, like there's Stressed Out, and When Your Mama Sang You to Sleep and Now We're Stressed Out. That song. And yeah, and there's also the If Saturday Don't Come Soon, I'm going to lose my mind. And yeah, so I like those songs during a week, just thinking, yeah, I can resonate with this. So yeah, that's life really. And now I've got a little bit of freedom at home, so that's quite nice. And hopefully I use that freedom for good, and hopefully I make the most out of it. So what I've done with my freedom a little bit, I wrote a book, short book. That was pretty cool. And I've done some meditating. That's been really valuable to me, meditating. And now I'm doing this podcast business. I quite like the podcast business. It's a bit of fun. So yeah, my life as a whole has been quite. Don't touch your face. That's what they say at the moment. Anyway, my life as a whole has been quite good, because most of it has been at school, and I quite like school. Yeah, most of what has happened has been at school, and I quite like school. And for people that don't like school, they let's put a smiley face. Boom. Yeah. So yeah, people that don't like school and then spend most of their life at school, it can be a bit much. Things can it's a bit rubbish really. I think that's why people get a bit rebellious. But even if people don't like school, like the friendships that people form from school, there's so many people that make their friends at school and then stick with them. And I haven't really done that very much. I've done a little bit, but yeah, I'm not the most sociable person. So I quite like school. I was good at some of the subjects, like maths and science. I was quite good at, particularly maths. And then I did exams, and and then I did some coursework, and now I'm here out the other side, having learned everything, and you just forget it all. And one thing I have realised is just qualifications are empty achievements. They do not give you satisfaction that much. It's almost not worth the effort it takes to get them. I suppose there's a thing of whilst you're doing them, what else are you meant to do? Like get a bad grade? Like what's the point in that? But yeah, you might as well like try your best maybe. But it's just like you think that your life is going to be solved when you get a certain grade, and it isn't. Just straight up isn't. It's not an important asset of life. You're much better off making a friend. That's more important than anything else you can do. Having people in your life that you care about, that you can trust, that would be that would be really cool. Yeah, and there was talk of that on The Fighter and the Kid, and Brendan Schaub was like buying a second house, and he couldn't get the money for the rest of the house, and then like Bryan Callen said to Brendan, "I'll just take it out of the account, the Fighter and the Kid account." That was cool, letting him buy his house and take it out of the joint account for their podcast. That was straight up cool. Obviously, he probably paid it back, but it's a nice thing for a friend to do when things matter. Just help them out. So yeah, so there's The Fighter and the Kid. I watch Joe Rogan religiously every episode now because I have the time. And I also watch Russell Brand. Russell Brand's like famous as a celebrity and on lots of talk shows and Big Brother presenter and doing lots of things to make himself famous. But now he's just like into spirituality and meditation and making the most out of life. And I like him. I watched him when he was into politics as well, but I like it even better that he's into mental health and spirituality and making the most out of life, and that's what I'm really interested in. So who would have thought that Russell Brand would be my go-to guy? And he's got hardly the same number of people watching his videos as he did when he was famous. He's got like a smaller channel in terms of amount of views, but then that can change. But then there are people that do watch him. Like when he had his live stream, there were 7,000 viewers. I was one of them, and that's just like a testament to the people that really care about what he has to say and turns up for his live show. Yeah. So so what am I saying? Russell Brand's good to watch. I did read books, but I'm finding podcasts is my life at the moment. I like to watch podcasts, make podcasts. It's basically all I do in a day, which isn't too bad. It's not the worst use of time, but yeah. So what do I think my future will be like? I really don't know. My new thing now is making sure I have freedom, and it's a special kind of freedom. I don't know what to call it, but it's when you look forward to tomorrow because you enjoyed today and you're going to look forward to tomorrow. And that's a hard thing to do because a lot of the world that we live in is all about dreading Monday, looking forward to Saturday, and it's all about the weekend, and your whole life can just be up and down between the weekdays and the weekend, and you sort of live for the weekend, and it can all be a bit much. So my new goal is to have that sense of freedom that I don't feel like a burden about tomorrow or the day ahead, and I can just feel free and feel happy with that. And it's finding what I could do to make that happen. And it might be that doing university, I might get that sense of, looking forward to things. I don't know. If I've got friends there, I might look forward to hanging out with them. That might be something that I quite like to do. And hopefully that happens. I want it to happen. So yeah. So all those things considered, I've got something to do in the short term. I don't really know what I want to do in the long term. I probably can't live at home forever. I probably need to earn money somehow. Yeah. So I might have to get back into the world of work, but hopefully whatever I do, like the world of work, I quite like it. So I've got 2 jobs that I'm thinking about. My fancy pantsy job that I'm looking forward to is software developer, where I'm creating software, being creative, and making the most out of life. Software developer. Or I was thinking what I'd quite like to be is an IT technician in a primary school. I think that would be pretty cool because, and then hopefully I could get holidays off of school. I don't know if they work through the holidays, but if I had the teachers' holidays and I was working in the primary school as an IT technician, I think that would be my dream job. And if a job like that came up, I might just go for it, you know. What about the degree? I don't know. Maybe the job like that will happen in time. But yeah, job, I'm working in a primary school doing the IT technician stuff. Because I went for a job interview when it was like that, but for secondary school. But it sounded like you had to know everything because you had to go to different schools and be an expert about it. But if I learn in a primary school, that would be fairly cool. I just think it's quite a nice job to do. And I don't like this idea of doing on-call phone support and doing loads of tickets and helping people out, sharing their screen and writing reports. Will be a bit all too much, I think. But if I did something a bit easier, maybe not easy, just less time pressure, just like sat in a little office where students come to and reset passwords. That would be fairly cool. Hopefully I can figure out how to do that. So that's a job that I am technically could get because of my A levels and ICT qualification. I could get a job like that, and it's a little bit comforting knowing that it is a job that I can do. That's quite comforting that there's a job, you know, that could become available and I'd be qualified to do it. You don't necessarily have to enjoy every moment of your life and enjoy the job. That might be a little bit of a luxury, but I don't know if I'm necessarily going to get the freedom I'm looking for with this software developer stuff. But I might get the freedom I'm looking for by learning how to do the software developing because I like the learning environment and I like being able to just relax a bit and learn. It's probably a lot of individual work and coursework and everything, but I can do coursework. I'm good at exams, but I don't like the way it makes me feel. I get so nervous for exams. There's nothing like it. You just dread it the day before. You dread it a week ahead. You just dread every second of it. The exams are just horrendous. And yeah, a year at school, you know, you spend all that time doing all the learning and then it all matters on just an hour and a half of your time in one piece of paper and you just got to try your best. And I remember my last exam and I had such a sense of relief. I was so happy after my last exam. That was such a good thing. So happy. I haven't done any exams since. And to be honest, I haven't done any maths or physics really since. I did a little bit of independent study where I did a little maths myself, creating some maths. I don't know if that's useful at all, or if it works, might be nonsense. But something that I thought about and that I did, which is fairly cool. So things I've done in my life. I've done GCSEs, I've done A-levels, I've done ICT qualification, I have done I've done sport, like surf life saving, lifeguarding sport. I've done table tennis, basketball. I don't know why I never got into football. That might have been an idea. Get into football, learn how to do that. Yeah. So I've done sports, I've done activities, and I've also done a bit of maths, where I have created some maths, but it might be complete nonsense. And I've also done written a book, and also I have done this podcast. I've made YouTube videos, lots of YouTube videos, and dancing YouTube videos, and all sorts really. And yeah, I've enjoyed those. Yeah, so all things considered, I've done quite a lot, and I'm fairly content with everything. And then recently I've started this Peter Repeater podcast, and it's been fairly cool. Got Twitter followers. Let's see what, I shouldn't be looking at my Twitter right now. 294 followers. I'm following a lot there, but never mind. That tumble dryer continues to beep, but never mind. Yeah, so followers, YouTube, done lots of things really, and all that time in school, all of that struggle and effort I've put into work, and I'm out the other side in a position where there's a job I could get, and I am going off to study at university where I could get another job after that, but the job that I can get is an actual job. I can be an IT technician in a school, so that's quite good, and I think I might do that one day, just to see what it's like. Although I knew someone who tried that, and it was a bit difficult. The IT technician in a school, they quit after a while, but I might enjoy it. Probably not. Probably more of the same, hard work and everything. But yeah, I enjoyed the ability to have a job, and then I also want that freedom. And I was also basically talking the other day about not having a job at all, and just always having that freedom. And there's probably more to life than that. I'll probably need to meet people and create a friendship group, and have a podcast where there's people have guests on my podcast, and it can be episode 100 or something, or 200 or 1,000, and I can have guests, and it can be a decent affair, and I can make the most out of life, really. Yeah, the dream is just a podcast, and that's what I'm doing now. I'm doing the podcast now, and that's really cool. Yeah, and hopefully I can do more things like it. So what I really should do is have research where I research what to say. But you can clearly tell by some people's podcasts, they do no research. The Fighter and the Kid podcast, there's no research. They're just talking about complete rubbish, and it's hilarious. It's great. It's just, they pluck it out of thin air. I don't know how they decide what to say. Whereas like Joe Rogan actually, says something and goes on interesting explorations into ideas and contributes to the world. But the Fighter and the Kid, they just say random stuff. It's funny. It's nice to get an honest look on someone's opinion of life and get a look into what it's like to be someone else and how other people are thinking about stuff, even if you don't think the same. It's nice, and the podcast style is just a pure, honest reflection of what conversations are like, and you're just basically talking. Although on Joe Rogan they said we should have this conversation outside of the podcast so you can keep on asking questions, because there is a sense on Joe Rogan's podcast that you have to let them speak so that the people listening can hear them out properly instead of just doing it for your own sake. So podcasts aren't perfect, close to what it's like to have a true conversation, because you have Joe Rogan say, I will say it off air. Why can't you say it on air? Anyway, so there's different things to consider. Yeah, so this podcast is going well. I tried to make it 40 minutes, and hopefully it's watchable. Yeah, I think it's going more or less okay. Let's see on my Twitter. Let's see how long ago. It only says 32 minutes. That's why I clicked on it when it said 20. 32 minutes, okay. But anyway, so we'll keep talking for an extra 10 minutes. We want to get this podcast up into the 40-minute mark. You don't hear people saying on the internet, on YouTube, you don't say Joe Rogan say, oh, what should we talk about now? I swear part of that is because you have two people, and it's not twice as easy to speak with two people. It's like 10 times easier to speak with two people, because two people will almost always have something to say. I don't know if it's true, but maybe that's not true. I mean, Joe Rogan, sometimes, when the person Joe Rogan is speaking to is straight up boring, he'll just end up saying random stuff that's interesting, but it doesn't feel like true conversation, because he's just forcing something to be said to fill up the time on the podcast, and you sort of have to do that if you're speaking to someone not interesting. And it's almost as if the more interesting the person is, and the more friendly Joe Rogan is with the podcaster, the less interesting what they're talking about is sometimes. Like Joey Diaz, they would just talk about films and random fighting trivia and talk about random stuff. Whereas other people will formulate what they're saying, and they will and say something interesting, but sometimes you get a jokey environment, and also what they're saying is interesting. But my favourite podcast is probably when they're talking about some real world event and they're talking about something conspiratorial or something crazy. Like my favourite recently is probably Joe Rogan and Duncan Trussell. When Duncan was had the face mask on, that was funny. They said some crazy things, and then Joe Rogan has this habit of saying, "I'm not saying that it is, but here's a random conspiracy." I'm not saying that the world is ending, but the world is ending. So crazy stuff like that. So I could listen to more podcasts. I probably need to save podcasts for this evening. So I probably can watch a program with my mum. That might be quite nice. So we've been talking for a little while now. I'm just looking at the time. I know it's completely arbitrary how long I do things for, but 35 minutes, another 5 minutes, and then we'll be at 40 minutes, and then we're getting better at the whole podcast thing. Yeah, we isn't just me, but we'll get there. I dropped my bouncy ball. Anyway, we're getting better at this podcast situation. We'll get into the into the rabbit hole on some conversations, and I like to think I'll talk about interesting theories and life, and people don't like to get conspiratorial. It's probably not good for me to get conspiratorial, because if you believe in the conspiracies, then you get paranoid and stuff, and it's not necessarily true. So today I've talked a little bit about my life and what life is like. So I should really. I'm just thinking about my thumbnails at the minute. I've put the number of the of which episode it is, and I should really save the numbers 0 to 9 somewhere, so it's a bit easier. Could do that now, really. Wouldn't take much effort. Yeah, so we'll try that. Yeah, we'll try that. Or I could just start with number 5, because next episode would be episode 25, and I could save that somewhere. And then keep on saving the numbers I make in different places. Yeah, maybe not. When am I going to use that 5 again? Until 35. Well, I don't use it, but then when 55, and then you just stick with a 5. It's not that much effort just to do it one at a time. Talking about thumbnail numbers here. That's what I'm doing when I get to 40 minutes. So plumbuses are on my shirt. How they do it. Plumbus. It's Rick and Morty reference there. It's probably top 10 funniest moments of my life is watching that Plumbus sketch. I really liked that. They knew they had something special then. Apparently they ad-lib it, make it up as they go along. Sometimes I repeat myself, and this is the Peter Repeater, so it's crazy. Something to contend with. It's crazy. However, anyway, I say that. I've had that water there this whole podcast, and I haven't decided to drink it. Can I call this a podcast, or is it just a live stream? A podcast sort of implies that you can listen to it and it be more or less interesting throughout the whole thing, and I'm not sure if you could really say that about my podcast right now. No, it's good. It's I've talked about my life, talked about talking about talking and talking about talking and so on. And you just realise that there were some times in my life that I had it really good. And I hope I have good moments like that again. I'll probably have better moments, in fairness. Yeah. But until then, it's podcast when I can. I'll do another podcast this evening if I have the time after tea. And we'll talk about something hopefully interesting. Hopefully I have something to say. This is why I should be doing research into interesting topics. But at the minute it's just me talking. I'll get better at it, surely. Surely I have to, episode 100 I'll be like on it. Or maybe I won't. Like, how many Rocket Leagues have I done on my channel is insane. The amount of Rocket Leagues I've done. This is like, I've already had a lot of practice, to be honest. This is nothing new. I used to talk about philosophical ideas and try and talk about them. I should probably upload them or something. I got them saved somewhere stashed away. Private videos. I don't know, I like the cleanness of my channel. Just have it one thing. I can always talk about those things again. And watching my bad Rocket League playing is not necessarily what people want to do. I have a feeling now that I've done 40 minutes. Let's look at Twitter. I tweeted at the beginning, and yeah, 41 minutes ago I've done that tweet. So that is pretty cool. How many followers have I got? 296. Nice. Okay, thank you for listening and watching my podcast. I appreciate it. I'll be having another podcast this evening. Bye for now. Cheers.